Hi, hello everyone. I welcome you to StevSecon 2023. I'm much pleased to talk on security incident response in cloud, which is most understood as well as not so well understood topic in security. The understood part of the puzzle is that it is required, and not so understood part is what it takes to implement an incident response program. So we will talk about it. And before that, who I am. Who am I? I am Poornima. I'm security consultant in AWS. I'm based in UK. I work with organizations and help them build secure platform and cloud, thereby accelerate their cloud journey. So I work with organizations mostly of financial, retail, and telecom. Outside of day job, I like talking in forums like one today or writing blogs itself. So let's get on. What is an incident? To understand what normal mean, as it may vary from one organization to another, you need to absorb your system while it operates normally and use that as a baseline. And incident is a deviation from the baseline. So for example, when you get a massive spike in some signal, that means an anomaly. Another example could be a rise in the billing for a specific account or a specific application is one such symptom, which may indicate that there is some abnormal behavior in that application or server. So that is what the first trigger point we would look for. So moving on. Hopefully, yes. What is incident response? So an incident has happened, and there should be a mechanism on how we are going to deal with the reported compromise or incident. The incident response, as well known as called as IR, is a system which is the collection of people, process, technology, and they are leveraged together to detect, contain, and recover from security incident. And some of the cases remediate as well. The first aspect is people. There are many personas involved. One, the SOC, the incident responders, forensic analysts, threat intelligence, and not all persona do exist in all the organization. And I've seen in many organizations that SOC and incident responders are the same. So they kind of exist within the each team and they share the responsibility. And forensic is not so done within in-house. It's always done on a need to know basis outside of the organization itself. So the next aspect is the process, the incident response plan. An incident response plan is a document that outlines an organization's procedures, steps, and responsibility for its incident response program. So it's a kind of a strategy document. It's more of a directive kind of a document itself. And the next one on the playbook. The playbooks is what you would use when doing troubleshooting, investigation, and root cause analysis. While the run books is what you use after the incident, that is post incident, to recover and resume the normal operations itself. And the next part is the technology part, which is what is either organization do spend a lot of time with people and process, and that there's no supporting technology to kind of drive the way through the detection process itself. So the technology that is involved from a more of an incident response is detect. Are we capable of detecting the incident that is going to happen or that is happening? Are we able to find the symptoms itself? And the response, do we have an investigation tools or an analysis tool to kind of find the incident itself, or probably do an analysis itself, and more of an analysis or more of a forensic tools, which means like if there are any kind of forensic analysis that needs to be done, so do we have all the supporting technologies to do that? So moving on, what is the purpose of IR itself? So now comes to the part of why we need IR. So let's try to understand it in more data focused way. As we all know, the incident cost organization a lot of money, resource, etc., etc., and also the incident impacts the organization business as well. See, the data suggests that the lack of IR preparedness is one of the greatest contributor to cost and impact of attacks. 12% of investigation continue to linger around for more than 700 days due to lack of IR preparedness. This could be simply because there is no resource availability, there are no enough log information to do the analysis, so on and so forth. And more interesting fact is the median dwell time, the time between the compromise and alert or discovery, which seems to be on a higher side. For example, average of 43 days for ransomware and 56 days for more advanced threat. This means that either there is a detective capability, an alert goes to the backlog somewhere, or somewhere to some organization's mailbox, but doesn't make way through the right attention, or the mechanism to detect an incident is not so efficient or probably not well established at all. On the other side, the organization with higher preparedness has much less dwell time. So the average of 141 days for the externally reported notification, or probably the average of 30 days for all those self-declared or self-detected an incident. So the next question is, like, do we have different type of incidents, right? Like, it's not going to be, we are not going to document everything as for that matter. So scaling the incident response for different types of incidents and also for hybrid is also going to be a challenge. One way of looking at, or probably one thing had to think about it, is the automation itself, the incident response automation itself. So next comes the question of what is the difference between the cloud and on-prem incident response. There are some differences, and there are few which means the same when it comes to the cloud or the on-prem itself. Fundamentally, the cloud adds additional layers which probably needs better understanding. The one is the shared responsibility model. This means if there is abstracted services where the incident happened, the investigation really depends upon the telemetry or data itself. Or whenever it happens in a more kind of an infrastructure as a service, which the customer has more responsibility towards it, then it happens. If the much data, there are much telemetry information, so that the investigation can be fast tracked itself. And within the way in which the data exists in cloud is different. The access method, the exposure, the integration is all different. So from what existed in on-prem, there are more cloud native guardrails, tools, services, which indeed provide more information on a specific event. This means which gives more flexibility for the responder to respond to an incident itself. The compromise is no longer limited to a virtual machine or database. There are more abstracted information, so which can be invoked by an API call or so on so forth. So on and so forth, which means the responders or the SOC team need ability to understand, read the logs for an efficient response itself. Having said that, there are fundamental things which remains the same, irrespective of whether we are in cloud or hybrid or on-prem only. The concept of responding to the incident, the IR itself, is remaining the same. And SMEs, the subject matter expertise to understand the technology, to understand and run with it, is also something that is more important as well. And logs is the key. There is always a debate about the noisy logging system versus no log system at all. Both are extreme. There needs to be a balance. And the endpoints do exist. So it would continue to exist as well. So which means we will have to still monitor it, analyze it, so etc. etc. So moving on, what does that incident response look like? What is the cycle all about? So the incident response process, one on the screen, is based on the NIST. So it has several phases: the preparation, detection, analysis, containment, remediation, eradication, recovery, post-activity analysis as well. So the one on the screen is the NIST, the Incident Handling Guide. There could be other representation as well. For example, SANS, the steps are same, but it is different. They are same in the objective, however, they are different in the way it is taken up, which I'll go a bit more deeper into what each of this is in a second. But before that, the emphasizes, I just wanted to give an emphasis on the additional step that I brought in, just to reflect the way it happens when it comes to an incident response. So The first one on the triage or evidence collection is a sub-step, is more of initial few steps that the responders take to understand the incident and collect some evidences or what is required for analysis. And where possible, the effort will have to be put in place to contain that incident at first level. It could be a tactical step. It may not be the final containment, but still it does exist as well. So this also gives in some time to think about a strategic way of dealing with the incident itself. So the explanation of each of those phases, the first one, the preparation. So the incident response methodology typically emphasizes preparation, not only establishing an incident response capability so that the organization is ready to respond to incident, but also preventing incidents by ensuring that the systems, networks, application are sufficiently secure. Although the incident response team itself is not responsible for the incident prevention, but it is the fundamental one and most important one for the success of incident response program itself. On the preventive aspect, so the question is like, are there controls which are sufficient to prevent an incident from happening? Of course, if there are going to be no controls or less control, that means that the incident, there could be the possibility of having incidents are more as such. So, and the next one on the detection. So incident can occur in countless ways. So it is infeasible to develop a step-by-step instruction for handling every incident. Organization should be generally prepared to handle any incident, but should focus on being prepared to handle incidents that use common attack vectors, basically. So the most challenging part of incident response is accurately detecting and assessing the possible incidents, determining and whether an incident has occurred, or if the type, extent, and the magnitude of the problem. So the signs, for example, a precursor, a sign that indicate it may occur, an incident may occur sometime in the future, an indicator, an incident, and may have occurred or may be occurring now. So these two signs are important to analyze, but there are some flip side to it, because if there are more number of alerts or more number of indicators, then it's going to be an impossible way to identify what the real incident is all about. So the next one on the analysis. So the detection and analysis, it could be very easy if every precursor or indicator were guaranteed to be accurate. Unfortunately, that is not the case. There are chances of false positive, and IDS system, the intrusion detection system, may produce false positives. So, and what is making things worse, as I said earlier, is that in total number of indicators, depending upon the size of the environment that we are dealing with, it could vary maybe from thousands to millions a day. So finding a real security incident that occurred out of all of the indicators can be a very daunting task. In order to narrow down the search space, some of the common tactics that they use is profiling, like behavior analysis, what the normal behavior looks like and what the normal network behavior looks like. Even correlation. So that's an important aspect. There are multiple log sources. We correlate the events and make sure that there is a complete story attached to it. And the next part is the containment. Containment is important before an incident kind of overwhelms the resource or increase the damage itself. So the incident requires containment, so that it is an important consideration early in the course of the handling of each incident. The containment provides time for developing a tailored remediation strategy if that's the case as well. So and moving on, so from a next one is the remediation part. So remediation is handling the system owners or anybody who is responsible for that particular system need to identify which is the attacking host as such. But this could be very longer and lengthier exercise as such. It might probably distract the team from achieving the primary goals as such. So the next one on the eradication. So eradication could be identifying all of the assets and removing the possibility and remediating itself. So some of the incident eradication is either not necessary and is performed during the recovery itself. And the most important one and I like this personally. One of the most important part of the incident response is also most often omitted part as well, the learning and improving thing. So the incident response team should involve having a new threats, improved technologies, etc., etc. So holding a lessons learned meeting will improve not only the security controls. Are we good with the security controls? Do we need additional security controls to improvise it? So those are the questions that possibly should be discussed as part of the post-incident activity as such. So now the question is like, how are we going to scale it? Like there could be a number of things. The phases looks very good because it is theoretical, and having that extended over a period of time is going to be a difficult task as such. So two things. One is having a centralized way by which we can visualize it, which is the SIM solution for that matter. So having a correlation logic every time, and whether it's on-prem, it's hybrid, it lives somewhere else, it doesn't really matter, but there needs to be a tool which is going to be supportive as such. And the next one that I could think of is the playbook. We don't necessarily do all of the instructions in the playbook, but definitely there needs to be a way by which we can granularly understand a systematic approach. If an incident happens, what are the different steps that needs to be taken and how it should happen? So I know
Poornima,
I'm running out of time. Yeah.
you're already 5 minutes over, so can we just wrap it up?
Yes. So so the common pitfalls is about the understanding the visibility, or either understanding the API calls and all of the newer things from a cloud perspective. And of course, shortage is the common thing that is wide across. And of course, from an incident response as well, it's going to be a difficult thing as well. So one secret sauce for the entire thing is simulating it in a tabletop manner or in a sandbox manner definitely helps to understand where are we with the incident response. Do we need additional support, or do we need additional resources, etc., etc.? So that is really it is. Thank you for listening. I'm really sorry if that's got extended.